The Terror Fleet. The galaxy knew fear when the Void Hunters arrived. For 300 cycles, their black ships had swept across star systems like a plague of metal locusts. They were tall, thin beings with pale skin and eyes like dead stars. Their ships were massive, dark things that blocked out suns. Captain Rex stood on the bridge of the human cargo ship Iron Will. His crew was small, only 12 people. They were miners and traders, not soldiers. The ship was old and patched, held together by hope and welding wire. It carried basic supplies to frontier colonies. "Captain," called out Tom from the sensor station. His voice was tight with worry. "We've got contacts." "Lots of them." Rex walked over to look at the display. The screen showed dozens of red dots moving toward their position. Each dot was a ship larger than 3 human destroyers put together. The formation was perfect, like a net closing around them. "Void Hunters," whispered Lisa, the engineer. She had seen the reports from other systems. Entire worlds turned to glass. Cities that had stood for thousands of years reduced to ash in hours. The Hunters never took prisoners. They never asked for surrender. The communication array crackled to life. A cold voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect human language. "Small vessel, you carry the mark of the mammal species designated as human. Your kind spreads like a disease across our hunting grounds." Rex picked up the communicator. His hand was steady. "This is Captain Rex of the merchant vessel Iron Will. We're carrying medical supplies to colony worlds. We mean no harm." Laughter echoed from the speakers. It was the sound of breaking glass. "Your species amuses us with these negotiations. We have burned 47 human worlds. We have watched your cities melt and your people scream. Yet still you speak of harm and peace." The crew looked at their captain. Some were shaking. Others had their hands on weapons that would be useless against ships that size. Rex had fought in the border wars 20 years ago. He had seen good people die for bad reasons. But this was different. This was not war. This was extermination. "Your fleet will power down all systems," the voice continued. "You will prepare for boarding. We will study your vessel before we destroy it. Perhaps your screams will teach us something new about human pain." Rex looked around his bridge. These people trusted him. They had families waiting for them. Tom had a daughter starting school next month. Lisa was getting married in the spring. They were good people trying to make an honest living in a dangerous galaxy. The Void Hunter ships moved closer. Their weapons were charging. Massive energy cannons that could crack a moon in half. The Iron Will had mining lasers and emergency shields. It was like comparing a candle to a star. "Captain," Tom asked quietly. "Orders." Rex thought about the colonies waiting for their supplies. Medical equipment for a plague outbreak on Kepler 7. Food synthesizers for the farming stations around Wolf 359. If they died here, those people would suffer. But if they fought, they would die anyway. The Void Hunter commander spoke again. "You hesitate. Good. Fear makes the hunt more interesting. In our culture, we have a saying. The prey that runs dies tired. The prey that fights dies screaming." Rex activated the ship's internal communication system. His voice reached every person on board. "All hands, this is the captain. We got company. They're not here to talk. They're not here to trade. They're here to kill us because we're human." He paused, looking out at the enemy fleet. The ships were close enough now to see with the naked eye. Black metal beasts with weapons like the teeth of some ancient predator. "I got a choice to make," Rex continued. "I can surrender and hope they make it quick. I can run and hope our old engines don't explode. Or I can do something these monsters have never seen before." The bridge was silent except for the hum of life support and the distant rumble of the reactor. "They say they'd burned 47 worlds. They say humans always scream. Well, they haven't met us yet." Rex's finger hovered over the weapon controls. The mining lasers were not much, but they were something. The Iron Will was not a warship, but it was a human ship. And humans, Rex had learned long ago, were very good at being stubborn. "All stations, battle ready," he announced. "Let's show these hunters what happens when they try to hunt humans." The Void Hunter fleet waited. They had done this before. Soon, there would be fire and screaming and then silence. It was always the same. But they had never met Captain Rex. First blood. The first shot came from the lead Void Hunter ship. A beam of purple energy that could have melted a small asteroid struck the Iron Will's forward shields. The barrier flared bright blue and held, but warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields at 60%. Lisa shouted from engineering. "That was just a warning shot, Captain." Rex gripped his command chair. The enemy fleet spread out around them like hunters surrounding a wounded animal. 12 massive warships against one old cargo hauler. The odds were impossible, but Rex had learned something during his years in space. Impossible odds just meant you had to be more creative. "Tom, give me everything our sensors can tell us about their formation," Rex ordered. "They're staying in a perfect circle, Captain. Keeping equal distance. It's like they're playing with us." The Void Hunter commander's voice filled the bridge again. "Impressive. Your shields lasted longer than expected." The humans on Vega 4 had similar technology. Their shields failed after the third shot. "Shall we test yours?" Another beam lanced out, this one from a different ship. The Iron Will shook as the shields absorbed the impact. More warning signals blared. "Shields at 30%, Lisa reported. Her voice was steady, but Rex could see the sweat on her face. Rex activated the mining lasers. They were designed to cut through asteroid rock, not military armor, but they were all he had. Twin beams of red energy reached out toward the nearest Void Hunter ship. The lasers struck the alien vessel's hull and scattered harmlessly across its dark metal surface. Laughter echoed from the communication system. "The prey fights back. How wonderful. Your weapons are like insect bites to us. Please continue. We enjoy the show." But Rex was watching his tactical display carefully. Something about the enemy formation was wrong. They were too confident, too casual. They stayed in perfect position, like they were following a script. "Captain," Tom said quietly, "I'm picking up something strange. They're ships. They're all linked somehow, some kind of formation network." Rex nodded. He had suspected as much. The Void Hunters moved like a pack, but packs had weaknesses. "What happens if we break the formation?" "Unknown, sir, but their positioning suggests they're sharing power and sensor data across the entire fleet." Another purple beam struck their shields. This time, the barrier flickered and almost failed. "Shields at 10%. Lisa called out. "Next hit will punch right through." Rex made his decision. All power to engines. Emergency burn. Now. The Iron Will suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest Void Hunter ship. The aliens were surprised. Their prey was supposed to run away, not charge straight at them. "What are you doing?" the enemy commander demanded. "This is not how the hunt works." "We're not your prey," Rex replied calmly. "We're humans." The cargo ship dove beneath the massive alien vessel, so close that the two hulls almost touched. The Void Hunters fired, but they couldn't risk hitting their own flagship. The Iron Will weaved between the enemy ships, using their size against them. "They're trying to reposition," Tom reported, "but they're having trouble with their formation network. We're too close." Rex smiled grimly. The Void Hunters had grown used to fighting enemies who were afraid, who tried to run or hide. They weren't prepared for someone who would fly straight into the middle of their fleet. The mining lasers fired again, this time at point-blank range against the flagship's sensor array. The explosion was small, but it was enough. Sparks flew from the alien ship's hull. "Impossible," the commander screamed. "You damaged us. No prey has ever damaged us." But Rex wasn't done. He spun the Iron Will around and fired at the connection points between two other ships, some kind of energy transfer system that linked their vessels together. The purple beams severed, and suddenly The Void Hunter formation started to fall apart. Ships that had moved in perfect synchronization began to drift out of position. Their network is failing. Tom shouted with excitement. Whatever they used to coordinate, we're disrupting it. The alien commander's voice had lost its cold confidence. This is impossible. We are the Void Hunters. We have burned worlds. We are death itself. Rex activated the communication system for the last time. You made one mistake. You told us about those 47 worlds. You told us about the people you killed. And now you're going to learn something about humans. He paused as the Iron Will lined up for another attack run. We don't forgive. And we don't forget. The cargo ship dove toward another enemy vessel, its mining lasers charging for another strike. The Void Hunters, for the first time in 3 centuries, knew what it felt like to be prey. The pack breaks, 770 words. The Void Hunter fleet was in chaos. Ships that had moved like dancers now stumbled into each other. Their perfect formation was broken, and with it, their confidence. Rex pushed the Iron Will harder than the old ship had ever been pushed. The engines screamed in protest, but they held. Lisa had tears in her eyes as she watched her beloved machinery being pushed beyond safe limits, but she kept the power flowing. 2 more ships trying to reconnect their formation link, Tom reported. Bearing 27 Mark IV. I see them. Rex brought the ship around in a tight turn that made everyone grab onto something solid. The mining lasers fired again, severing another energy connection between alien vessels. The Void Hunter commander was no longer speaking with cold amusement. His voice cracked with fury and something else, something the galaxy had never heard from the Void Hunters before. Fear. This is impossible. We are the apex predators. We have consumed civilizations. A smaller Void Hunter ship, separated from the pack, fired wildly at the Iron Will. The purple beam missed by hundreds of meters. Without their formation network, their targeting was poor. Rex realized something important. The Void Hunters weren't just connected for power and sensors. They were connected for courage. Alone, they were still dangerous, but they were no longer the confident killers that had terrorized the galaxy. Captain, Lisa's voice came over the intercom from engineering. I've got an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I'm listening. Their ships use some kind of exotic matter for power. I can see the energy signatures on our sensors. If we can overload one of their reactors. Rex understood immediately. Chain reaction. Exactly. But we'd have to get close enough to touch one of their ships, and we'd have to pump everything we have into their power system at exactly the right moment. It was suicide. Even if it worked, they would be at the center of an explosion that would make a supernova look like a candle flame. Rex looked around his bridge. Tom was still calling out enemy positions. Lisa was keeping their dying shields operational through pure determination. The rest of the crew continued their duties, even though they all knew they were probably going to die. All hands, Rex announced over the intercom. We have a chance to hurt these monsters. Really hurt them. But it means flying into the middle of their biggest ship and overloading their reactor. Silence filled the communication channel. Then Tom spoke up. Captain, my daughter lives on New Terra. That's only 2 systems away from here. If these things get past us. My sister's family is on Kepler Station, added Jake from the weapon controls. One by one, every crew member checked in. They all had people they cared about. Families, friends, lovers waiting for them to come home. And they all knew that the Void Hunters would kill those people without mercy if they continued their rampage across human space. All right then, Rex said quietly. Let's give these hunters something to remember us by. The Iron Will changed course, heading directly for the Void Hunter flagship. It was a massive thing, as long as a city block, bristling with weapons and armor. The enemy commander seemed to understand what was happening. You cannot. We are eternal. We have existed since before your species crawled from the mud. Maybe, Rex replied. But mud has a way of getting into everything. The other Void Hunter ships tried to intercept, but they were scattered and disorganized. A few shots struck the iron will, but the old cargo hauler kept flying. As they approached the flagship, Rex could see details of its construction. The hull was covered in symbols, probably the names of worlds they had destroyed. There were thousands of them. "Lisa, are you ready?" "Connecting our power grid to the mining laser array now." "Captain, when we fire, we're going to put everything into it. Life support, artificial gravity, even the emergency power. We'll have maybe 30 seconds before the ship goes dead. 30 seconds is all we need." The iron will flew directly beneath the Void Hunter flagship. Rex could see the alien ship's reactor through gaps in its armor, a swirling mass of dark energy that hurt to look at. "Now," Rex shouted. Every system on the human ship went dark as all power flowed into the mining lasers. The red beams, now boosted beyond anything they were designed for, punched through the alien armor like paper and struck the exotic matter reactor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Void Hunter flagship began to glow from within. "It's working," Tom shouted in the darkness. The alien ship started to come apart as its own power source turned against it. Fire and stars. The Void Hunter flagship exploded like a dying star. The shockwave caught the iron will and threw it spinning through space. Emergency lights flickered on as Lisa desperately tried to restart their systems. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Someone shouted over the noise of alarms and grinding metal. "Reactors offline." Lisa called from engineering. "We're running on emergency power only." But Rex was watching the tactical display as it slowly came back online. Where the flagship had been, there was now only expanding debris and radiation. The other Void Hunter ships were reeling from the explosion, their formation completely shattered. More importantly, something had changed in their behavior. The cold, confident hunters were gone. In their place were confused predators who had just watched their pack leader die. "Captain," Tom said with wonder in his voice, They're backing away from us." It was true. The remaining 11 Void Hunter ships were putting distance between themselves and the damaged human vessel. For creatures who had terrorized the galaxy for 3 centuries, they seemed remarkably reluctant to finish off one crippled cargo hauler. The communication system crackled back to life. But instead of one voice, there were many. The Void Hunters were arguing among themselves in their own language, harsh, clicking sounds that hurt to hear. Finally, one of them switched to human speech. This voice was different from the original commander. Younger, less certain. "Human vessel, you have done something impossible. You have killed one of our great ships." Rex picked up the communicator. Half the bridge controls were still dark, but the basic systems were coming back online. "We're just getting started." "No," the alien voice cracked. "You do not understand. We are the Void Hunters. We do not die. We do not lose." "Funny thing about that," Rex replied, watching as Lisa managed to get the engines working again. "Everyone thinks they're immortal until someone proves them wrong." The Void Hunter ships were moving strangely now. Instead of the precise formation they had maintained before, they were scattered and hesitant. Some were even backing away from each other. Tom was monitoring their communications. "Captain, I think they're afraid. Not just of us, of each other. It's like the death of their flagship broke something." Rex nodded. He was beginning to understand. The Void Hunters weren't just connected by technology. They were connected by belief. The belief that they were unstoppable, that they were the ultimate predators. The death of their flagship had shattered that belief. "Human." The alien voice spoke again. We propose a trade. You have proven your species has strength. We will spare your worlds if you tell us how you destroyed our ship." Rex almost laughed. "You want to make a deal. After burning 47 human worlds. Those were different circumstances. You have shown that humans are worthy prey. We respect strength." "I've got a counteroffer," Rex said. "You leave human space. All of it. Every system, every colony, every outpost. And maybe we don't send the entire human fleet to hunt you down." The silence stretched for long minutes. Rex could hear the Void Hunters arguing again in their clicking language. When the voice returned, it sounded smaller. You would hunt us. We're very good at holding grudges," Rex replied. "And we're very good at learning from our enemies. You taught us something today about fear. Now we're going to teach the rest of the galaxy." The tactical display showed the Void Hunter ships moving further away, but they weren't retreating in formation. They were scattering, each ship heading in a different direction. "This is not how it ends," another voice screamed over the communication channel. "We will return. We will burn your worlds to ash." "Maybe," Rex said calmly, "but you'll never look at a human ship the same way again. Every time you see one of our vessels, you'll remember this day. You'll remember that 12 humans in an old cargo hauler killed your flagship." The Iron Will was limping, but it was alive. The crew was battered, but they were intact. And somewhere in the distance, the scattered Void Hunter ships were learning what it felt like to run from something smaller than themselves. "Captain," Lisa reported from engineering, "we've got minimal power restored. Engines are working, but we're not going to make any speed records." "That's fine," Rex said, settling back into his command chair. "We're not in a hurry anymore." He opened a channel to broadcast on all human frequencies. "This is Captain Rex of the merchant vessel Iron Will. We have engaged a Void Hunter fleet and survived. The enemy has scattered. Human space remains free." He paused, then added with a grim smile, "And we have 47 worlds to avenge." The word spreads. 3 days later, the Iron Will limped into Frontier Station Alpha. The old cargo hauler was held together by emergency patches and determination, but it was flying under its own power. The docking bay was crowded with ships, human vessels of every type imaginable. News of the encounter with the Void Hunters had spread across the communication networks faster than light itself. As Rex and his crew walked through the station corridors, people stopped to stare. Someone had already painted Void Hunter Killer on the side of their ship in bright red letters. In the station's main bar, Rex found himself surrounded by captains, traders, miners, and even a few military officers. Everyone wanted to hear the story firsthand. 12 people against an entire Void Hunter fleet, asked Captain Drake, commander of the heavy freighter Starhammer. "And you actually killed one of their ships." "We got lucky," Rex said, sipping his drink. "They were overconfident. They expected us to run or surrender." "But you didn't run," said another captain. "That's the part I don't understand. Why didn't you run?" Rex looked around the room at the assembled faces. These were good people, spacers who worked hard to keep the colony supplied, who took risks to explore new systems, who built homes on worlds that had never seen human footsteps. "Because running wouldn't have solved anything," he said finally. "The Void Hunters would have kept coming. More worlds would have burned. More people would have died." A young woman in a pilot's uniform spoke up. "But you're just a cargo hauler. You didn't have weapons, armor, military training." "No," Rex agreed. "But we had something else. We had people depending on us. Tom's daughter on New Terra, Lisa's fiancé on Kepler Station, all the colony worlds waiting for medical supplies. When you have something worth fighting for, you find a way to fight." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Captain Drake raised his glass. "To the crew of the Iron Will, who showed the galaxy that humans don't back down." The toast was echoed throughout the bar, but Rex was already thinking about what came next. "The Void Hunters scattered," he continued. "But they're still out there, still dangerous. And now they know we can hurt them." A military officer leaned forward. "You think they'll come back?" "I think they'll try," Rex said. "But something changed when their flagship died. They're not the same unified force they were before. They're afraid now. And fear makes predators unpredictable." Over the following weeks, reports came in from across human space. Void Hunter ships had been spotted, but they were acting strangely. Instead of attacking in formation, they were operating alone or in small groups. Some had even fled when confronted by human patrols. The story of the Iron will spread beyond human space. Other alien species who had suffered under Void Hunter attacks began to whisper about the small human ship that had done the impossible. On the Centaur worlds, resistance groups named themselves after Rex's ship. On the frontier colonies, children played games where they pretended to be the crew that faced down the Void Hunters. But perhaps the most important change was in the humans themselves. The fear that had gripped the outer colonies began to fade. Ships no longer traveled in convoy. Exploration resumed. New colonies were founded. Rex and his crew returned to their regular trading routes, but they were no longer anonymous cargo haulers. At every port, people wanted to hear their story. Children asked for autographs. Other crews bought them drinks and asked for advice. "Do you ever regret it?" Lissa asked one evening as they sat in the iron-willed small mess hall. "Fighting instead of running." Rex looked out the viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, the scattered Void Hunter ships were learning to live with fear. Somewhere out there, human colonies were growing and thriving because 12 people had refused to surrender. "No," he said quietly. "I don't regret it, but I do hope we don't have to do it again." Tom looked up from the sensor readings he was studying. "Captain, if they do come back." "If they come back," Rex said with a slight smile, "they'll find out that the Iron Will wasn't special. We were just humans doing what humans do when someone threatens our family." He stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the endless stars. "And there are a lot of humans out here." The Iron Will continued on its course, carrying supplies to the frontier colonies. Behind them, the legend grew. Ahead of them, the galaxy was learning that humanity was not prey. They were hunters too. The end.